Hello everybody. Today we'll discuss how to approach Indian polity for prelims 2020. My name is Manjunath. I teach polity at Insights IAS. I hope everybody are safe and revising multiple times the same reference books and then taking frequent mocks, because those are the very two important things that we have to do for any prelims. And as I said, this is not a video on how to explain how to read polity for basic prelims or how to read polity in general for a starter. This is on how to approach for prelims 2020. So we'll discuss on, because we all know that a lot of things keep changing, so there might be doubts in your minds that will UPSC ask more questions on current affairs, or will they focus more on basics, or should we read 1 or 2 years current affairs, like should we read 2018 current affairs or should we read 2019 also, or is it enough if we read 1 year current affairs? So all those will be there. So we'll try to address all those issues, and we'll also I'll try to suggest what are the most important areas where normally UPSC asks questions from, and then I'll also tell about how important is current affairs, or how is there any change in the past 2 years. So we'll be discussing as we move on. So first thing, so let's look at the trend analysis. So in 2013, as we all know, the syllabus changed, and then if you look from that year, so in 2013 you had around 18 questions, 2014 11, 2015 12 questions, 2016 6, and then 2017 was maximum 22, and then in 2018 13 and 2019 13. So if you look at the graph, so you can easily assume that polity questions will be somewhere around 10 to 15 questions. So yeah, sometimes it might go to around 20, sometimes it might be less than 10 also, but the general trend is around 10 to 15, like 12 questions, 13 questions. So has anything changed from 2013 to 2019? Especially if you ask me, based on my experience, I can tell you these years, especially the 2018, so that year UPSC changed the way they used to ask questions. So as I'll tell you, so earlier we always used to look at chapters like, okay, from if you take precedent chapter, the questions will be mostly on any serious aspirant used to, okay, the question UPSC ask, like let's say they might ask a question on ordinance powers, they might ask it on veto powers, they might ask a question on pardoning powers, and then if you're clear there, it's fine. But then things have changed drastically in these past 2 years, because as and when as competition increases, obviously UPSC has to keep looking at new ways on how to test the the basic conceptual clarity of a candidate. And before getting into too detailed analysis, which we keep doing, but I try to make clear few things that as far as my experience goes, my analysis goes. So in any prelims, in any year, if you take around 40 to 60 questions will be always from your basics. So if anybody asks me, sir, because we all know, everybody asks that any serious aspirant who has read for 1 year or 2 years asks, sir, how important is basics and how important is current affairs? So normal assumption of any serious candidate is that, okay, basic books everybody studied the same across the country, like they study Lakshmikant, they will study Spectrum publications for modern India, or geography, NCERT 11th and 12th, or they'll study Shankar, or like PMFIS for environment, for economy, one or other book they'll study. So this everybody studies. So people assume that the actual the area which gives them the edge is actually the current affairs. So they focus too much on current affairs, where you might get 30 to 40 questions. That's the normal assumption that goes. But if you ask me, it is actually this current affairs which will fetch you the marks. Sorry, it is always the basics that will fetch you. If you are very good at your basics, if you are very good at your conceptual clarity, 40 to 60 questions, if you are able to, like let's say you handled 50, you attempted 55 out of these, let's assume they got 60 questions, and then if you are very good at it, if you get 50 right and then 5 wrong, or if you get 45 right and 10 wrong, you have almost got around 80 to 90, or somewhere, if you are very good, you would have been in 95 range in basics itself. And obviously everybody studies one or other current affairs compilation, so any one institute, so you just stick to that, or if you have made your self-made notes, please stick to that, please revise that multiple times. and don't assume a lot of things, because prelims will be at least, it will take around 30 to 50 days, and don't assume that okay, I have done with my basics, let's go to another book, let's purchase another book, something is good in the market, and then you take up that also, and then you don't revise multiple books. So rather than that, just stick to your basics, stick to few books, revise them multiple times, because I always keep telling you, for our students, it is always revision that's the key for prelims, it is always basics that's the key for prelims. The more you are good at your basics and concepts, the better the chances. And in fact, if you question, sir, then what about the current affairs? Current affairs, obviously everybody will read, everybody have to read, no doubt in that, but if you look at it, the UPSC's normal tendency is, even if they ask current affairs, they normally don't test your factual, factual memory or factual knowledge. Even if they ask a factual question, it might be around 5 to 10. So in other than that, like even if you take, like let's say polity question, if you take, they might ask a question on, like 2019 they have asked a question on the impeachment of the Chief Justice of India. So if you link it to the current affairs, the question was related to, because Congress had tried to move an impeachment motion against then CJI Deepak Mishra. So but then the question will not be related to that one. The question they'll ask is, they'll go back to the basics, and then they'll test your basics. So even within this current affairs, what I'm trying to say is, even within the 10 to 20, actually they will link back to your basics. So they'll test your basics again, they'll test your conceptual clarity, because that's the basic intention of prelims itself. Prelims, because lakhs of candidates appear, you can't allow everybody to mains. So the basic intention is, so eliminate those who are not strong at their basics, allow or give opportunity for only those who are very strong in their fundamentals. And then in the mains, the intention is different, they test your expression ability, all those things, that's a different issue. So that's what we are trying to make it clear. So because anybody who is trying to see this video, so we are assuming that you are a serious candidate, you are already prepared, and then you are trying to approach, you are trying to analyze how to approach this prelims 2020. Fine. So 10 to 15 is the average number of questions, so that you have to obviously make it clear. Within that, if you go back, like if we analyze from the past 10 years, so the most important chapters: Parliament, Judiciary, DPSP, Union Government, Fundamental Rights, Historical Background, Local Government, Systems of Government, and Constitutional Bodies. Fine. So what are these chapters? So Parliament, we obviously know that's the most lengthiest chapter, and we obviously know the most preferred reference book also. The same Lakshmikant, you don't have to refer any other books. Obviously, if you are a serious aspirant, you will be knowing that. Sorry. Okay, so Parliament obviously has, it's a big chapter also, it has 23 questions if you analyze from the past 10 years. Within that, are there any specific topics that we need to focus more on? Yeah, there are. If you look at the past, like as I made it clear in the beginning itself, 2018 and 19 things have changed a bit. That doesn't mean that they are going away from the basics. That only means that they are looking at more small details. So this is another key point which you always have to remember when you attempt prelims, that it is the small details which win you the game. Everybody would have studied, if you have studied for 1 year, everybody knows the basic simple things. Where you differ, where you get that extra edge, because if you analyze, if you look back, if you are a candidate who has given 1 or 2 attempts, you will analyze that. So most of them would be in the margin of 5 to 10 marks. Like if the cutoff is around 100, you will be in 90s. Fine. So where are we getting wrong? So it is here, it is in those small details, that is where we need to focus more on. So it's not just like, because in mains, if you have a basic idea, you can construct an answer. So and then you can at least write for a basic general marks. But then in prelims, if you are not strong in the small details, so chances are very high that it might fetch you negative marks. So make sure focus more on small details. Within Parliament, yes, there are areas like, let's say, the question, they keep asking question on, like, let's say, leader of opposition, or the role of speakers, deputy speaker, or like question related to joint sitting, or questions related to bills. Like money bill, consider the following statements. We'll look at those questions also. Or like they'll ask a question on constitutional amendment bill, or like let's say financial bill, or they might ask question on budget. They might ask a question on Now, how does the overall bill passing situation arises? What are the options available to the president? So many areas are there, but then what we have to look at is you will have to focus on small details. Now, let's say if they ask the statement saying that what about the term of Rajya Sabha? We all know that that's 6 years, but that is not given by the constitution. If they might give a statement as to Constitution of India has prescribed the term of Rajya Sabha to be 6 years, but actually that's wrong, because it is RP Act. Constitution had empowered Parliament to decide that, and Parliament through RP Act 1951 has mentioned that it is 6 years. So, this small details, if you are reading line by line of Lakshmikant, only then you will get to know the small detail, or else everybody knows it is 6 years, but you don't know, you might not know that it is RP Act. Like similarly with respect to elections of union territories. So, how does the elections happen to union territories? So, E is now with respect to Lok Sabha, how does the election happen? With respect to Rajya Sabha, how does the election happen? So, those small details, if you have to again go for line by line reading of Lakshmikant. Similarly, again if you go back to if you look at judiciary chapter, obviously again Supreme Court. Yeah, one other point I have to make is in Parliament chapter, if you read here, most of the times we neglect state legislature, but go back to state legislature also. So, see where there are few differences, because if in state legislature, so there are points like we assume that normally for legislative assemblies people are directly elected, or they might be nominated like the Anglo-Indian members, which the governor nominates one member, but then there is a provision for indirect election also, even for state legislative assemblies. That's there for few northeastern states, that's there, that provision is given for Sikkim. So, that point you will get to know only if you go line by line of the book. So, my point is look into the small details. Fine. Similarly, in judiciary, if you take, and even in state legislature, there is a few difference on how a bill gets passed, because you can't compare Rajya Sabha to Legislative Council. Rajya Sabha is relatively more powerful compared to the Legislative Council. So, that point you need to understand. So, there is no concept of joint sitting in state legislatures also. So, all those small details, please go through that, because that is where we get confused. So, because you might have seen that most of the times you will clear, you will eliminate one or two statements and will get stuck in those one or two statements if there are 4 statements. So, for that clarity you need to go into those small details, revise multiple times. Similarly, in judiciary, what are the most important topics? We all know that at least 1 or 2 questions they will give from judiciary. Either they might ask on, like let's say if they might ask on impeachment procedure as it has happened, or they might ask a question on jurisdiction of Supreme Court. We all know that now in the context of the CAA, so under article 131 which is related to the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court, which looks into those federal disputes, and there is a case going on where governments of Kerala, governments of Madhya Pradesh and West Bengal had filed a case in Supreme Court as to CAA is unconstitutional, all those things. So, they might not ask a question about CAA. So, UPSC has this tendency that if an issue is highly discussed, they might not ask a question, they might ask also. So, but you can't assume that they will ask and then to focus too much on current affairs, neglecting the basics. So, you have to understand what is this original jurisdiction. So, don't read basics based on the current affairs. Always make sure that irrelevant of the current affairs, irrelevant of what's happening, you always have to revise those basic things, because UPSC has too many options to ask questions on. So, if you are very strong in your basics, only then you have a better chance of getting 110 plus or 120 plus. Fine. So, judiciary again a very important chapter. DPSP again, so they gave too many questions, like you can see that there are 11 questions on DPSP. Similarly, union government, here union government means I have included president, vice president, prime minister as well as council of ministers. They might ask a question about with respect to president. If you take, they might ask a question on, as I said, yeah, we will discuss in the next further slides that earlier they used to have focused more on ordinance powers, but in 2018, which was you can consider it as a kind of radical year, because UPSC changed too many things on how a prelims question paper is framed. Earlier there were few like they used to use few guesses, there were few rules, all those things. So, like extreme words they used to eliminate. or if there are numbers, we used to eliminate. We used to assume that UPSC doesn't focus too much on facts, or UPSC doesn't focus too much on, let's say if you take polity, okay, UPSC doesn't ask on which amendment led to what is the importance of 44th amendment, or what is the importance of 42nd amendment. We used to assume that the UPSC doesn't focus too much on that, but all those things have changed. Now even amendments matter a lot, so you'll get to know as we discuss questions gradually. So even in DPSP, make sure that you, in addition to getting to know what are the basic features of DPSP, what is the difference between DPSP, fundamental rights, or else, like, let's say, is DPSP judiciable or non-judiciable. In addition to that, you should get to know points like small things like facts. 42nd Amendment 1976, it added what new DPSPs were added. 44th Amendment 1978, what new DPSP was added. Cooperative societies, so with regard to that, what new DPSP was added. So all those small details you have to keep a track on. So if you are worried about, sir, how to remember facts, so the best thing what you can do is, if you have a notes within that, or if you are, obviously everybody studies Lakshmikant, from that chapter or from that entire book, so try to make a fact sheet and stick where and just keep looking at it every now and then, like whenever you are disturbed or whenever you want to recall something, just try to look at it like you look at those world maps, like you look at those Indian maps, Indian geography maps, political maps, like that. So make sure that you revise, because don't neglect facts. Fine. In fundamental rights, more than obvious, every time they ask a question, it might be related to judicial review. So normally we focus only on judicial review, or we focus on writs, or we focus on, like, let's say, what are the basic features. But we tend to assume that, okay, as the exceptions, in almost every fundamental right you have an exception. UPSC will not focus on that. But again, I keep telling, don't assume those things. Try to read line by line. You never know, UPSC will ask those exceptions. Though in the past 2 years they are not asking a question on fundamental rights from basics, they ask a question like, let's say, if you have seen 2019 paper, they have asked a question on this right to choose your individual partner based on the Hadia case, and in 2018 they had asked the question on right to privacy based on Justice K.S. Puttaswamy case. So, but not necessarily based on Supreme Court judgment. As I told, don't assume, don't try to gone with an idea that I'll try to decode the trend of UPSC. So that is not the intention of this discussion. Also, the intention is just to understand what are the important chapters, where we cannot decode the trend of UPSC, because the basic point is it has too many options to ask questions on. If you focus too much on current affairs, they'll go too detailed into the basics, or they might go 2 years back. But so only thing is that if you are very strong at your basics, then 40 to 60 questions are in your hand. So that is where our focus is on. So next is with respect to historical background. This most of the times we neglect, either assuming that it's too much factual. But if you ask me, it's a very important chapter, because every year, if you can go back and check, one or other question will always be there. You can put it under polity, you can put it under modern India also. Like, let's say if they ask a question on 1919 Act, does it fall under polity, or does it fall under that modern India, the national struggle or freedom movement? So wherever it is, the point is, in Lakshmikant you have the clear-cut chapter. So they mention all the basic details. Just revise them. Every act, like let's say right from 1773 Regulating Act till 1947. So within that, if you ask me, mostly important are from 1909, 1919, 1935, 1947. But again, I am stressing, you can't assume that the UPSC will ask only from this. So in addition to that, like let's say they have asked a question on 33 Act, 1813 Act, 1833 Act. So they might ask a question on 1773 Act or 1784 Pitt's India Act. Any question they might ask. So make sure you revise these things. If you are unable to get a hold of those basic facts, because so many points are there, just make a fact sheet, write in your own keywords, write in as simple a manner as possible, and revise them multiple times. Similarly, another important chapter is local governance or local government, that is your 73rd and 74th Amendment. More than obvious, you will get a question from that. They might either ask a question as to what is the intention of this 73rd amendment, what is the intention of this local government, or they might ask as simple a question as about, like let's say, who is father of local governance. Also they might ask a question like in 2016 they had a question about the life term of a earlier dissolved, like let's say we all know that the normal tenure or life term of a local government is 5 years, but if it is dissolved in 3 years or in 4 years or in 2 years, the newly elected local government, which will be elected within 6 months, will stay on for only the remaining of 5 years. Like let's say, that is, if there was dissolved in 3 years, so the newly elected local government will remain only for the next 2 years, and it not like the other, not like Lok Sabha, not like Legislative Assembly, where the newly elected one will get plus 5 years. Here it will get only the remaining term of those 5 years. So that point we might forget. So those small issues you need to focus on. Let's say about reservation, that 1/3 reservation. Let's say about what are those exempted areas. So if you go over to the exempted areas, you will find in the new edition also that earlier you need to have, they used to include Jammu Kashmir everywhere. Now Jammu Kashmir is taken out because of the abrogation of 370. So those small things just keep a eye on. And again, systems of government, again another important chapter. It means it includes 2 important chapters, that is parliamentary system and federal system. Again the basic ones, what are the features of federal system, or what are the challenges of federal system, or they might ask a question as to what do you mean by cooperative federalism or competitive federalism, or like let's say they might ask a question on what do you mean by symmetric federalism or asymmetric federalism. Even in parliamentary system, they might ask a question about Article 75, the principle of collective responsibility or the principle of individual responsibility. So what are the features of it? What is the difference between Indian parliamentary system and British parliamentary system? The basic things. So just make sure, even this is an important chapter. They might link it to. They might also link it to a difference between parliamentary system and presidential system. But if you have understood the basics, you can easily handle a question on this. And then according to me, another important chapter, so based on the past 10 years, is this constitutional bodies. Within that, again, as I have told, it is only constitutional bodies. There are so many non-constitutional bodies, there are so many statutory bodies, executive bodies, all those things. In fact, in Lakshmikant you will find so many other chapters, like chapters related to official language, chapters related to elections, what is the condition to become a national party, state party, so many things, but then the cost benefit is relatively very less. So these are the chapters where you have highest cost benefit. That means if you invest time in this, so chances are high that out of 10 questions you will find 6 to 7 questions out of these. Within that, again, so don't go for option, try to read line by line, because UPSC has changed this trend. So they are asking a question from parliament. So my basic point, I am just trying to sum up, my basic point is this: are they asking questions from 2018 from these chapters? Yes, they are asking, but are they asking from the same areas like veto power or like the ordinance power? Not necessarily. They are asking question on more small details, like let's say in the president chapter you can recall that, so they asked a question about value of the vote of an MLA from different states, or value of vote of MP of Lok Sabha and MP of Rajya Sabha. So that basic, almost it was a detail which everybody had taken it for granted, but UPSC went and asked a question on that basic detail. So that is what we are trying to stress on. So keep an eye on these important chapters. Cost benefit are very high here. So rather than keep on reading other chapters, try to focus more on this. Does it mean that we should not read other chapters of Lakshmikant? Obviously no. So because we obviously, if you look at the other important chapters also, you have to read this. These are all important chapters too, but relatively cost benefit is less, but these are not, that doesn't mean you have to neglect these chapters, because every time you have a chance of question being asked from these chapters, like center-state relations, interstate relations. Within interstate relations, or like let's say if you take into center-state relation, again, like let's say they might easily confuse you or ask a question on when can parliament make a law on state legislature, or like what are the financial relationship between center and state, about statutory grant or about discretionary grant or about finance commission or about the delegation, mutual delegation of the functions between center and state. So read line by line. Don't take anything for granted in these chapters. If you want, within center state relations, maybe with respect to the financial relation, so where you find those article 268, 269, 270, 271, all those things, maybe that part you can bit skip, but then all the other topics under this chapter are certainly important. You can't take anything for granted. Please read line by line. Similarly, in interstate relation, so we all know that now interstate council is under discussion, zonal council, northeastern zonal council was under discussion. So get back to the basics. Even after reading so many times, people do get confused as to, like when they ask a question on zonal council, they assume that it is also a constitutional body, but it is mentioned clearly that it is established under States Reorganization Act 1956. So like that, try to read it line by line, the composition of interstate council, the composition of zonal council, the relation with respect to article 262, that interstate water disputes. So try to link it with respect to Supreme Court also again, because in interstate water disputes 1956, so you find a statement which says that Supreme Court's jurisdiction is excluded from these interstate water disputes. But then under article 136, that is what you call a special leave petition, plenary jurisdiction of Supreme Court can look into any kind of interstate dispute, interstate water dispute also. So that angle you need to understand, because you might have seen time and again, whenever Kaveri issue comes up, both Karnataka and Tamil Nadu goes to Supreme Court and then they try to approach, then you should not get confused. Okay, like interstate water dispute, so it's been excluded, clearly mentioned under Interstate Water Disputes Act, but then how did these states go to Supreme Court? So that angle you need to understand. Similarly, I don't have to explain more on this emergency 352, 356, 360, what kind of, when is what do you mean by this? Internal emergency, external emergency, the most important amendment with respect to national emergency, the 44th CA 1978. So what is the majority needed, in what conditions, so state emergency is imposed, who can impose it, what is article 355, what is article 365, who can remove it. So all those small details you have to keep an angle on. Don't take anything for granted. As I told multiple times, it is always those small details which will get you past that 110 or 120 plus mark. So it is always those small details. Salient features, it's the most basic chapter as to what are the features of constitution. That means here you can also include, like let's say you can combine all these things. The third and fourth one, salient features, preamble, fundamental duties, they can ask any question. Most of the times they are asking a question which we have classified it as terminology based. Then I ask a question and what is the meaning of liberty, or what is the meaning of this, what the term republic, what do you mean by social justice. So those what are the key terms in preamble, so keep an eye on that. Fine. Again, don't take anything for granted, try to go line by line. Again, this amendment of constitution, what are the types, like you find two types of amendments. One is under article 368, second one is outside article 368, that is amendment under other articles of the constitution. So what can be done, like you have recent 2019 you had abrogation of 370, so abrogation of 35, all the things related to article 370. You had merger of union territories of Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. So under which article do they do that, what is article 3, what is article 4. So again you can link it to union territories, schedule 5, schedule 6 areas. Even under schedule 5, schedule 6 areas, so there are small details. What is the role of this tribes advisory council, what is the composition of it, who declares a schedule 5 area, which states fall under schedule 5 area, which states fall under schedule 6 area. Within that, what are the names of these autonomous district council, what kind of powers does the autonomous district council have. It has legislature, it has executive, it has financial, as well as it has judicial powers. So if you have not read line by line, if you have not dealt into small details, you might think that okay, it has only executive powers or it has only legislative and executive. You might overlook this financial and judicial powers. So read line by line. So don't take anything for granted. Fine, these are other important chapters. other than these whatever I had mentioned in the last slide and this one, so other chapters the cost benefit is relatively less. So please stick to these important chapters, revise these ones multiple times. Only if you are confident of these chapters after you take multiple mocks, and then if you find out okay, out of 10 questions in this I am getting 8 right, 7 right, 9 right, so then you can focus on other chapters like what is the condition to become a national party or a state party, or provisions related to official languages, or so many other chapters, multiple, or like the bodies related issues. So all those things you can focus only if you are very good at these important chapters. Fine, okay, let's move on. So next we'll look at few basic questions. So as I have told, I have divided the questions. So we'll discuss questions from 2018 and 2019, and I have divided questions according to me. You can divide these questions into first one basics, few things based only on current affairs, and then few are terminology based, terms based, and then few are from post independence, which you can link it to polity. So that I will explain gradually. So it might look like a model post independence question, it might look sometimes like an economy question, but then if you are good at the basic polity also, you can handle those questions. So based on 2018 and 19, so this is how we can classify. Most of the question again obviously will be from here. Out of 10, as I told, 7 to 8 questions will be from here, 1 or 2 will be from here, and then maybe one question from here, maybe one question from here. So that is how the trend goes. That is how, and even if they change drastically this time 2020, whatever you try, UPSC might ask a completely radical question paper also. Even in such circumstance, if you are good at this 7 to 8 question, one or other way, you will always have an edge, because we all know that this exam is about relativeness. It's about, are you among those top 10,000 or top 5,000 people? If you are good there, so that means you are good at your basics. You will have a wonderful chance of getting, cutoff might come down to 95 or 90, or it might go to 105 or 110. So if you are good at your basics, you have a wonderful chance. So okay, so let's see, if you look at this question. So this question is about, it's a basic question from 2019 prelims. So it was related to transfer of land to private parties for mining to be declared null and void. If you look at this, so verbatim you don't find this in Lakshmikant, but then if you have read Lakshmikant schedule 5 chapter, schedule 5 areas chapter, where line by line you can easily identify this. This is dealing about, this question is about transfer of tribal land to private parties for mining be declared null and void. So third schedule, it's about your votes, it's about it's about votes of various members like MPs, ministers, like candidates, all those things. So 9th schedule is about Article 31B, it's about those laws which can be kept beyond judicial review. 12th schedule is about 74th Amendment. So even if you know what schedule deals with what, you can easily arrive at this answer. Fine, because it is 5th and 6th schedule which deals specifically with tribal issues, schedule 5 and schedule 6. So if you know that basic, you can easily solve this question. If you look at another question, so now look at this. So now how can you handle this? Sir, I don't know about this, I have not read those small things about 42nd Amendment, how many articles did it amend, or 44th Amendment, how many articles did that amend. So I don't know about that. Even if you say that also, just look at this 44th Amendment. So the year was 1978. So 1978, again you have to link it to post independence. That's why I keep telling. So which most of the times you are overlooking from 2018 and 19. I feel so you have to link polity preparation to post independence preparation. That is, there is an NCERT class 11, NCERT class 11, politics in India since independence. So if you have not read that book, please go through that book. It's a simple read. It's it's in a story form. They are asking questions from that, as I'll show in the later slides. So and then you have to link it to this polity, because there are so many questions, so which you might not find directly in Lakshmikant, that is linked to this post independence. If you know that story, you can usually find that. Now this is almost a similar question. There are 44th Amendment 1978, you had Janata Party coming to the power. First time you had a non-Congress party with majority at the national level. They had defeated Indira Gandhi and her Congress party after 1975 emergency, which had become highly controversial. So it is not enough if you know the provisions related to national emergency. It's also important now you know the story about the emergency, why Indira Gandhi imposed emergency, what happened. So what was that Rajnarayan case? So what was that case related to Keshwanand Bharati? So what was that case related to, like, let's say the famous ADM Jabalpur case? So that one you need to understand. So that's why I am trying to tell. So given importance to this one also, at least 1 or 2 questions you will have a cost benefit here. So 44th Amendment 1978 article placing election of Prime Minister beyond judicial review. Let's assume you don't know this. So then the question is about Supreme Court 99th Constitutional Amendment. Again, see, you need to have a hold on current affairs also. But then they are asking about violative of independence of judiciary. So this was related to NJSC, National Judicial Appointments Commission. So why it declared it independence of judiciary, that it violates basic structure of the constitution. So this is obviously right. First one is 44th Amendment 1978. So the statement says it introduced an article. Actually it had deleted the provision, which this provision that election of Prime Minister should be beyond judicial review was introduced by 42nd Amendment 1976. Again, if you look at the context, 42nd Amendment, Indira Gandhi times, because the election of Indira Gandhi was declared as unconstitutional, or like it was null and void by Allahabad High Court in the famous Rajnarayan case. So Indira Gandhi wanted to amend that or put a provision that election of Prime Minister was beyond judicial review. So that was the context. So even if you remember that story, even if you don't know any fact related to what is this about, so you can easily eliminate this, because whatever they had done in 42nd, most of things were undone by 44th Amendment by Morarji Desai government. Fine. So this one again you might not find verbatim in Lakshmikant, 9th schedule during the Prime Ministership. So just if you understand what is this 9th schedule, Article 31B, it was related to land reforms. Again, you can link it to post-independence polity. You might not find it verbatim, but in your classes they might have explained clearly what was that issue going on between. You can link it to this concept of fundamental rights versus DPSP. There are so many cases, Goloknath case, much before that you had the Shankari Prasad case. So they were trying to amend so many things. So in that context, if you know that story also, you can easily find this one. So it was related to First Amendment. So obviously the Prime Minister was Jawaharlal Nehru. 9th schedule during the Prime Ministers of during the Prime Ministership of Jawaharlal Nehru. So next one, consider the following statements. Again, if you find it here, this is about 2 basics. So if you have read Lakshmikant also, you can easily handle this. It says no High Court can declare any central law to be constitutionally invalid. No, so you can easily find that under Article 13, judicial review power is given to both Supreme Court as well as High Court. So this again is basic one. Amendment cannot be called, of course it can be called, so answer is neither. This one again, so this is a question related to Article 142. So normally, so you might not read this article also, because even if you read Lakshmikant here, line by line also, you might miss this if you have not studied in link with current affairs. So this all my time and again it was in news, even recently also it was in news related to this Shabrimala case, related to Babri Masjid case, this Ram Mandir Ayodhya dispute case. So it is related to that. Supreme Court can look into any issue and it can give any order to do complete justice to the issues which are pending before it. So it is actually related to that Article 142. So you will get to know, you will be able to answer this question only if you are only if you have dealt with this chapter in detail and have linked it to current affairs. Fine, this one, it was in the context of, as I said, it was in the context of Deepak Mishra's impeachment motion being moved. So yeah, another point I have to make is, from 2018 what they are trying to do is they are trying to deliberately make the questions, statements are relatively big. So if you you might ask candidates who have appeared in 2018 and 19, they tell that it is consuming a lot of time. So that people used to finish the paper one round by 1 hour, so they are finishing it by one and a half hour. because deliberately they have made the statements very lengthy. So, for that you have to revise multiple times, you have to be very quick in reading, but that does not mean that you can skip the important words. So, always try to read line by line, always try to read word by word and then find out, because if you look at this question, the motion to impeach a judge cannot be rejected. If you have read the basic Lakshmikant also, it can be rejected because you find the word the head of the house, the presiding officer of the house may or may not admit the petition or the resolution passed by that house. So, they can be rejected, it can be rejected. So, here it says incapacity and proved misbehavior is given details, but it is clearly mentioned that proved misbehavior or incapacity that is not defined. So, you can eliminate 1 and 2. So, if you eliminate 1 and 2, 1 and 2 it is gone here also. So, A and D is gone. So, and if you even if you go through the basic ones, 3 and 4 you will find. So, what if you have not read Lakshmikant in detail, you might also get confused here in the third statement, because third statement says details of the impeachment are given in Judges Enquiry Act. Yes, it is right statement. So, we have already marked answer here, answer is 3 and 4, but if you have not read line by line, so you will assume that okay, it is dealt in detail by constitution itself, but constitution does not mention the detailed procedure. It says that it gives the ground, it says that you need that special majority, it says that president will remove, but then it does not tell about the detailed procedure, like which house can initiate it. So, what is that 100 members in Lok Sabha, 50 members in Rajya Sabha, the 3-member panel. So, next time they might ask a question about this, who are those 3 members in that panel related to impeachment of judges. That again you will understand, you will recall only if you have studied line by line. So, again the same basic point. So, you need to get into those small details, or else chances are very high you might get confused. Another basic question again, this is related to, again it is a very simple one. If you have read governor chapter, or if you have read center state relations also, you will understand the two major important committees related to center state relations, Sarkaria Commission and Punchi Commission. So, this is a question about governor. So, again within governor, should I tell about the important topics where you have to read? Yes, there are few, like let us say they might ask a question about the difference in pardoning power between president and governor, or they might ask about can the governor be appointed as a governor for 2 or more states. So, which amendment act led to that provision, like the 7th constitutional amendment, that 7th constitutional amendment which made a provision that 1956. So, this you might not know if you have not read line by line. So, like that try to read every line. Fine. Next question, this is about office of prophet. So, how to solve this, those are related to tricks, but office of prophet was highly in news. We all know that there was this AAP case related to that, Aam Aadmi Party related issue. So, even if you have read Lakshmikant line by line, so here you can eliminate it easily. The term is well defined in the constitution, it is not well defined. So, ARC, second ARC had given certain provisions, Supreme Court has given certain conditions, but then it is clear that it is not well defined. So, if you have read that also, you might not know that okay, was it amended 5 times or was it amended 4 times, that you might not be knowing. But even UPSC always gives you an opportunity wherein if you are good at your basics, this basic statement, third basic, if you have read Lakshmikant, if you have read it line by line, if you know this one also, you can easily eliminate and then come to your answer. So, what if I do not know this second, as I told, so what if it was amended 6 times? So, that again is a very trivial fact that you might be knowing, you might not be knowing, because it's more than a human factor that you might not know all the small facts. As I told, it will give you another opportunity. So, if you are good at that, you can easily eliminate, and chances are very high that you can come to your answer. So, that is what I am stressing again on my another important fact. Be very good at basic, be very good at your small details. If you are good here, chances are very high that you can come to your answer. Next one, again see they have asked the question about legislative assembly of a state. So, statement 1 you will be knowing, because president also makes with respect to parliament, governor makes an address with respect to the state legislature. This everybody will be knowing if you are a serious candidate. Second statement is where you might get stuck. like state legislator does not have a rule on the particular matter. When a state legislator does not have a rule, it follows the Lok Sabha on that matter. Again, this you will not find in basic Lakshmikant, but then if you want to, if you are strong at your basics, how you can link it to an option that even in privileges you will find an option that state legislatures are empowered, similar to parliament, state legislatures are empowered to make their own rules. So, that is own rules they can make. So, if you can link to that basic fact, again it might on that particular moment it might be a bit difficult, but if you, as I told, if you know this basic fact that both parliament as well as state legislatures can make, that is their privilege to make their own rules. So, then you can say that it follows the Lok Sabha rule. Chances are very high that it is not true. So, you can come to this answer. Again, I understand that at that particular moment it might be difficult, but you have a very high chance of getting this if you know the basics of that it can make. You do not have to remember the article, that it is under article 108, all those things. Even if you still know that they can make their own rules, chances are very high. Next one, with respect to 2018 basic questions. So, this is a very simple question. So, again related to a historical background, as I mentioned in the beginning itself, 1935 Act. Yeah, this was I was mentioning with respect to President. That is what UPSC has changed from 2018. So, everyone who studies from ordinance power or veto powers or pardoning powers or various other relationship between PM, the discretionary powers of President, all those things, they went to a very, very small basic nitty-gritty details. So, you can clearly see from the formula itself, in the beginning of the chapter itself, you can come to this conclusion that statement 2 is wrong. So, because it does not matter whether you are from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, your vote will have the same value, but if you are from different states, so the value will differ. Just go back and check the value of the votes given in the in this chapter in Lakshmikant. Next one, yeah, sir, yeah, another normally with respect to these guesses. So, we do not have, if you are very good at guesses, things might work a lot. This is the assumption, but then again, as I told in the beginning also, I am just reiterating it. With my experience, I can clearly tell, do not fall for what do you call as random guesses. So, base it, if your guesses should be based on your basics, your guesses should be based on your conceptual clarity and not random guesses. What do you mean by random guesses? Like eliminating if it is always, eliminating if it is like only, eliminating if it is fact based, eliminating if it is like, let us say related to some international organizations, all those things. So, in 2019 paper, if you go recall that even in environment, there are statements like 2-3 statements. In every statement they have given only. If it was pre 2018, most of them the logic was that okay, if it is only eliminate, answer is neither. But then UPSC has deliberately framed it like that. All the statements with only were right in that particular question, and I am not sure, but I think answer was all of the above. That is, they are deliberately trying to make sure that you should, people who are trying to guess based on random assumptions, so they get those negative marks. But if your guesses is based on those basics, that is what they call it as intelligent guesses or educated guesses, chances are very high. Now, look at this question. No criminal proceedings can be instituted or shall be instituted against the governor in any court during his term of office. So, if you are not good at the basics, you might assume that no criminal proceeding, oh, it's a very extreme statement, it's wrong, you might eliminate this. Emoluments and allowances shall not be diminished during this. So, again, if you are not good at your basics, you might assume that okay, maybe you can diminish it, all those things, but then it is clearly mentioned that yes, both these privileges are available. That is what you call it as immunities available for both president and governor. For both it is similar. Fine. So, answer is 1. The bottom line is, do not try to make it based on random guesses, try to make it based on your basics. So, chances will be very, very high of getting to the right answer. This one, Committee on Subordinate Legislation. So again, if you look at here, let's assume you don't know anything about, you just read about what are the financial committees, what is public accounts committee, what is finance, this estimates committee, what is committee on public undertakings, and then you only know about the composition of it. Even then, so and then you read only about departmental standing committees, how are they elected, how many members are there, how many DSCs are there. Even then, here as I told, even in those some previous question, that UPSC will always give you a chance. If you're very good, I'll stress, I keep telling this, it might look like some Modi like formula, but 3 C's are very important in prelims. First one is clarity, conceptual clarity. Second one is curiosity. Third one is, which I place very high, that is your common sense. Even if you're good at your common sense, just come out of the aura of UPSC, make sure that just assume it, just take it like any other exam, use your basic common sense, even if you use that common sense, you have a chance of getting at least 5 questions right, extra questions. So just look at this question. So they are asking on which of the following committees reports to the House whether the powers to make regulations, rules, sub-rules, bylaws. Here if you know basic also, so you can easily assume that they are talking about subordinate legislation, they are talking about delegated legislation. So if you just identify the question here, chances are high that you might come to this answer. So this is this common sense with that 3 C's. Fine. So now if you ask, should I read all those subcommittees which they have given in the Lakshmikant chapter? There are so many committees like General Purpose Committee, Rules Committee, Business Advisory Committee, Committee on Private Members, Bills, Regulations, all those things. Not necessarily, but then you have to understand what do you mean by Parliamentary Standing Committee, what do you mean by Departmental Standing Committee, what is the difference between a Parliamentary Committee and a Consultative Committee. That basic differences you need to understand. If you are good there, as I told, UPSC will give you a chance. So that chance you can make sure. But then with respect to PSC, with respect to all those committees, there don't take a chance. Read line by line, read the composition, how they are elected, what is the term. That things don't take a chance there. Now again, this is a traditional question. Speaker shall vacate his or her office if he or she ceases to be a member of assembly. You can easily find this statement. This most of the people will know, but then the game is here. The question is again, if you have not read line by line of Lakshmikant, chances are very high that you might not know this statement. Because the statement 2 says, whenever legislative assembly is dissolved, speaker shall vacate his or her office immediately. This is a very small detail. So it is given in Lakshmikant, but most of the times, if you have not revised Lakshmikant 4-5 times, you will not get to know this fact. It is clearly mentioned that the head of the house or the speaker shall not or will not resign or will not vacate the office even if the legislative assembly is dissolved. They will continue to remain in office until the newly elected legislative assembly meets for the first time. Till then this person will be there. Then it goes to the speaker pro tem, who will be chosen by president, and then speaker pro tem will conduct the election for speaker, and then speaker will make the election for deputy speaker. Then the procedure will continue. So only if you remember those small details, then you will be able to understand or eliminate this statement too. Fine. Next one is related to 356. It's more or less simple, direct question. You will understand that basic Lakshmikant. Here again, chances are very less that you might get confused. Here Parliament can place a law in 9th schedule. They are asking so many questions on 9th schedule. So next time they might ask a question on 10th schedule, or like let's say they might ask a question on 4th schedule also. So keep an eye on schedules also. That is which schedule deals with what. You have 12 schedules. If you find again it's a factual questions are what are the chances. As I told earlier, UPSC is focusing on those facts. Don't assume that UPSC will not test your facts. There are chances that they might test your facts also. Just make a list, read it multiple times. It's a very simple one. You will get to know that they might ask a match the following question on schedules also. And don't assume, don't take anything for granted. Yeah, next one, that is with respect to your basics one. As I told earlier, basic is one, current affairs is one, third one is terminology based, and then is based on the post independence one, current affairs based. So again look here. So they did not ask a question on about which case. They asked a question again, they traced back to your basics. That's what I am telling. Even if they ask a question on current affairs, they try to test your basics. So if you have read current affairs, if you have mugged up what is the case, if you have mugged up what changed, what is the scheme, all those things. But then what they do is they'll test your basics again. So this is about one's right to marry persons. So this was actually related to Hadia case. Even if you have followed current affairs, you will get to know this. Let's assume you know this case, but you are confused between 19 and 21. So how will you come to your answer here? Again, if you are strong at your basics, you can easily link that based on post Menaka Gandhi judgment, we have come to due process of law from procedure established by law, and then now Article 21 is highly, it has been widened a lot. So anything which leads to a dignified life, you can link it to Article 21. But 19 is related to your freedom of this right to freedom, expression, all those things. 21 is much more wider, much more broader. So what I am trying to tell is, even if you know that, okay, you knew that it is related to Hadia case. Let's assume you did not know Hadia case also, that Kerala or that interreligious marriage case, all those things. Even in that case, if you know right to marry person's choice, so they are talking about choice, they are talking about your dignity, they are talking about your discretion, they are talking about your personal life. So that is related to your dignified life. Like let's say they might ask a question related to right to life, not just live a life of dignity. They might ask a question on right to die with dignity. That is related to Aruna Shanbhag case, die with dignity. That is also that passive euthanasia. That is also 21. So 21 is a much more broader case, much more broader article now. So you can link it like that. Better you have read about this, even if you don't recall at that particular moment, which everybody goes through. Even in such case, just try to use your common sense, make use of your basics. There are high chance that you will come to this particular answer. This is more or less more based on the current affairs. But even then, let's assume the question is actually, the context was they were trying to amend this Indian Forest Act, because under 1927 Act, bamboo was declared as a kind of tree. That means you can't, people cannot cut those bamboos and then they can't use it to sell in the market. That's why they were trying to amend it, because there was also a kind of conflict between the provision related to bamboo in Forest Act and then the Forest Rights Act. So that one. So this one, it's better you have to have a clarity on the current affairs. This one again, Aadhaar card, proof of citizenship or domicile. No, it's clearly mentioned. If you know the basic, if you have read one current affairs compilation, don't read from multiple current affairs, just stick to any one, any institute is fine. So inside we have a wonderful compilation, you can read that also, anything, but stick to one. So don't try to read multiple current affairs, multiple resources. That will not work, because the key is revision. Stick to one source, revise them multiple times. Fine, it's more or less obvious. So that it was there. So there is a provision to deactivate or omit your UIDAI has that powers. They can nullify your Aadhaar also. Like let's say right to privacy again. So again, case Puttaswamy case 2017, Article 21. As I told, they are asking fundamental rights question like this. That doesn't mean, so you have to focus more here. But then again, as I told, just make sure that you know what is the difference between procedure established by law, due process of law, which case led to. Again, they might, like let's say they might next time they might ask a question related to this, A.K. Gopalan case. So they might ask, like let's say, so this particular case, landmark case of Supreme Court, is related to which article. So then you need to understand, you should be careful. So or they might ask Menaka Gandhi case, this case is related to which article. They might ask Shankari Prasad case, what was this what is this case about? Keshwananda Bharati case, what was this case about? So those basics you need to understand. ILO, so this is purely current affair based, so you can link it to, not sometimes if you assume it as, if you link it to child rights, yes, it falls under polity. Some people link it to international relations also, but then so as we have mentioned in other articles or other discussions also. So there are some questions like around 10 to 15 questions, what they call it as hybrid topics, as they have mentioned in other video also. What they are trying to do is they link polity to modern India, they will link polity to international relations, they link polity to your like let's say economics, so like that. So you should be good at multiple, all those basics, and then what you call as not international relation, IR means interrelationship. You have to relate it to multiple subjects. So you should be good at polity, modern India, you should be good at polity, post independence, polity, economy, polity, geography. So all those things only if you are good at that, so you can handle such questions. Fine, this was related to 138, 182 eliminating worst forms of child labor, 138 related to minimum age. So even if you have read current affairs, any current affairs, you can easily attempt this question. This one, political terminology based, they are asking from 2018. So you might ask, sir, they might ask one question. Now if you look at it, 2019 one question, 2018 one question. So because of this, should I study and go back, should I study other NCRTs? So my suggestion is, if you have read Lakshmikant multiple times, multiple means how many times, again you might get that question, I would suggest minimum 5 times, that is greater or equal to 5 times Lakshmikant. Within Lakshmikant, the chapters we have mentioned, within that there are areas, but then I would suggest read every line by line, those important chapters and those other chapters which I have mentioned in the beginning slide. So read those line by line. So if you have read those chapters line by line, chances are very high that you will have a hold of polity, you will have a hold of the conceptual basics things. So you can eliminate, or you can easily come to a conclusion on this question. Or else if you really want to go back and study an NCRT related to this, you can study NCRT Political Science class 11, provided, as I told, provided you have revised Lakshmikant multiple times and you are getting more than 110 or more than 120 in subject wise polity question papers. So because there are so many chapters related to this in political science, you can read democratic politics, all those things, but cost benefit is very less. You can't read 2 NCRTs which you might have done in the beginning of your preparation. That's fine, you can revise it now. Sir, I have not read, should I read now? So I would suggest, if you have read Lakshmikant more than 5 times, you don't have to read that. You can, with that clarity, you can easily attempt these questions. Fine. So this question UPSC has not declared its, has not published, released its answer key. Chances are high that D is the answer, but some say B is also an answer. If you ask me, the real meaning of liberty is this. This is just a means, absence of restraints. The real intention of liberty is to give an opportunity to develop your personality, to express yourself, your personal matters, your religion matters, everything comes under it. So if you are good at your fundamental rights chapter also, if you are good at the terminology understanding given in Lakshmikant also, chances are very high you can come to this one. Fine. This was a very confusing question in 2018. So this is related to positive liberty and negative liberty. So again a very deep one. So some people, there are, even if you go back and check, you Google it, there are people who say A is also a right answer. Everything matches, but then UPSC has declared B as the one. But then remember, it is not in this one question where you will lose or clear or not clear in prelims. It is in those 8 out of 10 questions which are from basics, that is where you clear prelims. It is not in this one question. Now you can't say that, sir, I didn't get this one particular question right, that's why I didn't clear prelims. That is, you are looking for a excuse, that's it. So it is there in those basic president question, parliament question, there if you had not got right, that is why you might have missed by those 5 mark margin or 3 mark margin. It is not that because you didn't get this question, because cost benefit is less. Even if you have read NCRT, chances are very less that you might get it wrong also. So that is what I am trying to suggest. Again, rule of law, if you have read article 14 clearly also, if you have understood also, you can clearly eliminate this option. So Professor Dicey concept, you have 3 components under that: equality before law, absence of arbitrary power, and then constitution. So in the Britain context, you don't have they have the third provision. So that basic one, Article 14. Even if you have read that, if you have understood the meaning of rule of law, it's clear that you can easily eliminate people's responsibility to the government. It is not people who are responsible to the government, it is always state which is responsible to the people. The rule of law, the basic question, the basic point is, it tries to share the power, it tries to divide the power, it tries to eliminate concentration of power, it tries to make sure that power is not in few hands, it is shared. So if you know this, if you know that it tries to make that government should be accountable to the people, you can easily eliminate third option. So look at here. So and then limitation of power, that is what we are trying, divide the power, share the power. So answer is C. So again the same thing I am trying to make. You don't have to read another NCERT, read that only if you have time, read that only if you are very good at Lakshmikant, you have revised those important chapters, or else if you are good at your basics, chances are very high you can attempt even these questions. Next one, as I told, this is the trend that I am observing from the past 2 years, 2018 and 19. This one I would suggest, rather than reading political science NCERT, read NCERT class 11, politics in India since independence. Please read that chapter. You are getting those 2-3 questions. So at least cost benefit ratio is also there. If you invest time, it's also a story, you can read it and it might help you in mains also. There is cost benefit, it will certainly help you. So please understand, and this is an important one. If you read that, you will easily understand this, how to tackle these questions. Now land reforms, again a post independence one. What was the intention? If you are not clear about what is the intention, what was the zamindari abolition, ceiling on land limit, or like tenancy reforms, all those things, so you might get this one confused also. So go back, read that. You don't have to read that bulky Bipin Chandra's post independence. Even if you read NCERT class 11, very high chances. This question you might include in economy also, but then I have included here just to make you the point that if you have read post independence, you can tackle this question also. Like look at the first statement, coal sector was nationalized by Government of India under Indira Gandhi. So if you have understood post independence history, if you have understood the personality of Indira Gandhi, if you put up the context, 1970s was the peak of Indira Gandhi, it was nationalized in 1973. Even if you understand that post 1990s, nationalization concept is not there, post LPG reforms, and nationalization happened to the peaks during Indira Gandhi times. Even if you know that particular fact, you can easily assume that yes, this particular statement is right. That means one should be there in your answer. And then if you know the basics of economics, that look at this statement, now India is self sufficient in coal production, which is not the case. Even today you can eliminate 3, 3, 3, 1 should always be there in your answer. So chances are very high that you can come to a conclusion. So the bottom line is, so try to read post independence, they are asking questions from that. Sources, this more than obvious, everybody knows, don't try to read any other source. Current affairs, any one institute, stick to that. Lakshmikant, minimum 5 revisions of the important chapters that we have mentioned. Current affairs, any one institute, revise it multiple times, at least 3 to 4 times. Fine. And then this one I would suggest, please go through this chapter NCERT. It's a very simple one, read 2-3 times, just try to understand the story. You can use that story itself to eliminate question. This one only if you have read the above books and then you have time, only then go to this, because they might ask maximum 1 question, and then even that, if you are good at this Lakshmikant, if you are good at this basics, you can easily at least eliminate and come to a conclusion. So bottom line, I am trying to tell, out of 10 or out of 12 or 13 questions that they ask, you can easily get around 10 to 11 right if you are good at Lakshmikant, and if you are good at one current affairs compilation, if you have revised, chances are very high. Within that again, basic. So this, we follow this always in insights. You have to revise multiple times, so you have to stick to one resource, revise it multiple times, solve multiple mocks, understand your mistakes. It's very important you understand your mistakes. It's very important you understand where are you getting right, where are you going wrong. Try to read, always try to attempt tests in those 2 hours. Understand how to handle those 2 hours. Should I mark the OMR in the beginning or at the end, and reading the question paper line by line, word by word. In addition to that, as I suggested in the beginning, focus on 3 C's. First one is clarity, second one is curiosity. Just be curious, you can easily attempt 1 or 2 questions more. Use common sense. Chances are very, very high. If you use common sense, if you use your basics also, you will get those at least 5 questions right, or at least it will help you to eliminate those one option where you will be stuck in those 2 options. You have already eliminated 1 or 2, stuck in 2 options where will at least 15 questions or 10 to 15 questions will be there. In that you will get those 5 questions. I can guarantee you that. Make sure you are good at your common sense and basics, and then make sure that you repeat this. Repeat means revise, solve, revise, solve. Thank you. I wish you all the best. So just the basic formula is the same again: revise, revise, revise. Solve as many marks as possible. Use common sense as much as possible. You will have a greater chance to clear prelims. Thank you.